Welcome back to Hollywood Cine Mysteries. We also looked at Mike Marshall's character Shane and the revenge-driven foundation of the story. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe to Hollywood Cine Mysteries. And don't forget to like, share, and comment. Now, let's continue with more facts about this unusual spaghetti western. One of the most interesting aspects of the movie is the way it treats the idea of revenge. Shane returns after 12 years because his family was murdered. That immediately gives him a clear objective. He wants justice. But as the story develops, the difference between justice and revenge becomes increasingly important. This is a familiar theme in Western cinema. A man who loses his family may believe that killing the people responsible will finally give him peace. But revenge can also become a new form of imprisonment. That idea is especially important in I'll Sell My Skin Dearly. Shane is not simply fighting other men. He is also fighting the person he has become. The arrival of Georgiana and Christian creates a completely different emotional environment around him. Georgiana is a widow, while Christian is her young son. Their relationship with Shane gives the protagonist an opportunity to experience a life that has nothing to do with revenge. This creates the central moral conflict of the movie. Shane has a choice. He can continue following the path of violence that brought him back, or he can consider another future. This is one of the elements that separates the film from a purely action-oriented Western. The movie also includes characters connected to men Shane is seeking. Dane Savers plays Ralph Magdalena. Germano Longo plays Father Dominique Magdalena. Spartaco Conversi appears as Benson. These characters form an important part of Shane's confrontation with the past. The story therefore builds its tension around the question of whether Shane will complete his revenge and what that revenge will ultimately cost him. Another interesting production fact concerns the cinematography. The film was photographed by Stelvio Massi. Massi later became well known for his work across Italian genre cinema. His involvement gives the movie another connection to the broader world of Italian popular cinema during the period. The production design was handled by Giulia Maffei, who was also credited for costumes. Editing was handled by Daniele Alabiso. These technical credits show that the film was produced by an experienced group of Italian cinema professionals. The movie was produced by Cinemar and distributed by Titanus. Titanus was one of the major names in Italian film production and distribution. The company continues to list I'll Sell My Skin Dearly among its cinema projects and describes it as a Western deserving rediscovery and reevaluation. The movie is also interesting because of its filming locations. Some locations associated with the production have been identified around the Lazio region of Italy. One verified location is in Manziana, near Rome. A farmhouse on Via del Pietrich was used as the home of Georgiana and her son Christian. Another farmhouse in the Via della Cupolara area of Manziana was used as an location where Shane tracks down one of the men connected with his family's murder. A third important location is the Church of Madonna della Salette in Canale Monterano. The church was used for scenes involving the old Catholic mission. These locations are particularly interesting because they show how Italian Western productions could transform the countryside around Rome into convincing Western environments. This is one of the defining characteristics of the spaghetti Western era. Many films were made in Italy and Spain rather than in the American West. Italian filmmakers used local landscapes, old farmhouses, rural roads, abandoned structures, and specially constructed sets to create the atmosphere of the American frontier. The result was a unique visual identity. Instead of simply copying American Westerns, Italian filmmakers developed their own style. That style often emphasized close-up shots, dramatic faces, morally complicated characters, intense confrontations, and darker stories. I'll Sell My Skin Dearly belongs to this tradition. It was released during a particularly active period for the Italian Western. By 1968, the genre had already become an international phenomenon. Films by directors such as Sergio Leone had helped bring Italian Westerns to audiences around the world. But the genre was much larger than a handful of famous titles. Hundreds of Western productions were made in Italy and other European countries during this period. Many disappeared from international attention after their original theatrical runs. Vendo, Cara, Pelle is one of those films that became much less widely known than the major classics. Its English-language titles also show how differently the movie was presented in different markets. I'll Sell My Skin Dearly is one of the better-known English titles. The Hangman's Tree is another title associated with the film. The film also circulated under different titles in several countries. This was common with European genre cinema. Distributors frequently changed titles to make films more attractive to local audiences. Another fact worth mentioning is the movie's running time. Italian film archives list the film at approximately 88 minutes. However, different home video and international versions have circulated with different running times. This is important for collectors and fans of obscure European cinema because some versions of older films can be incomplete or edited. The Spaghetti Western database has documented different versions and home video releases, including reports of shorter cuts. So if someone watches a version of I'll Sell My Skin Dearly that seems unusually short, it may not necessarily represent the complete version originally released. That is one reason obscure 1960s genre films can be difficult to research. Different countries sometimes receive different versions, different titles, different dubbing, and sometimes different cuts. And this brings us to another important part of the movie's history. The film was made in Italy, but its international identity was built through multiple language versions. Like many Italian genre films of the era, international distribution required versions suitable for different markets. This helped spaghetti westerns reach audiences far beyond Italy. And despite the film's relatively obscure reputation today, its combination of revenge, western action, romance, and moral conflict gives it a distinctive place within the genre. Final part. One of the most important facts about I'll Sell My Skin Dearly is its connection with the classic Western tradition. The protagonist's name is Shane. That is significant because George Stevens' famous 1953 American Western was also titled Shane. In the 1953 film, Shane is a mysterious gunfighter who becomes involved with family and eventually has to confront violence and his own identity. The 1968 Italian film uses a similar foundation. Its Shane is also a gunfighter whose violent past becomes connected with a family. Titania specifically describes the film as inspired by the classic Shane. So the connection is not simply a coincidence of names. The Italian film takes familiar Western ideas and filters them through the style of the spaghetti Western. But the two movies are not identical. I'll Sell My Skin Dearly has its own revenge-driven story and its own characters. The central difference is the emphasis on Shane's return and his determination to avenge his murdered family. That gives the 1968 film a darker beginning. The movie's title itself is also intriguing. Vendo, Cara, Pelle can be translated literally in a way that conveys the idea of selling one's skin dearly. The expression suggests that a person will not surrender easily and will make the opponent pay a high price. That idea fits the world of the film. Shane is a man who has returned with a dangerous purpose, but the movie gradually complicates that purpose. The presence of Georgiana and Christian forces him to consider something beyond revenge. This is where the movie's moral dimension becomes important. A revenge story usually asks one question: will the hero defeat the people responsible? But I'll Sell My Skin Dearly also asks another question: what happens to the hero after revenge? If revenge is achieved, does it actually restore what was lost? Can violence bring back a family? Can killing the guilty bring peace to the person who survived? These questions make the movie more reflective than its basic Western premise might suggest. The character of Father Dominique Magdalena is also part of this moral complexity. The story does not present every character in a simple way. The official Titania's description points out that one of the villains eventually repents and turns toward a religious life. This introduces another important theme: redemption. In a story dominated by revenge, redemption creates a completely different possibility. It suggests that people are capable of changing. And if one character can seek forgiveness in a different life, Shane must also confront the possibility that he may not have to remain trapped in violence forever. This is one of the film's most interesting contrasts. On one side is revenge. On the other side is the possibility of a new life. Shane stands between these two directions. Mike Marshall's performance is therefore important because the character is required to communicate both sides of this conflict. He has to appear convincing as a gunslinger capable of violence, while also becoming a man capable of emotional attachment. The film's relationship between Shane, Georgiana, and Christian gives the protagonist a more human dimension. Instead of existing only as a Western hero, Shane becomes someone with emotional choices. Another important point is the film's place in Italian cinema history. Ettore Fizzarotti was a director who worked in several areas of Italian popular cinema. His filmography included musical and youth-oriented productions as well as genre films. Vendo, Cara, therefore represents his contribution to the Western genre during a period when Italian cinema was producing large numbers of genre pictures. The film cinematography by Stelvio Massi is another notable credit. Massi became an important cinematographer and later director in Italian genre cinema. His career included work across westerns, crime films, action films, and other popular genres. The musical score was credited to Enrico Ciocci and Marcello Maracci. Enrico Ciocci was also known for his work in Italian popular and genre cinema. These names help place I'll Sell My Skin Dearly within the larger professional network of Italian filmmaking during the 1960s. There's also an important reason why movies like this can be difficult for modern audiences to discover. Many spaghetti westerns had limited international exposure after their original theatrical releases. Some received different English titles. Some were released in different cuts. Some survived mainly through television broadcasts, home video releases, collector's prints, or later digital editions. As a result, a film could be known under one title in Italy, another title in America, and another title somewhere else. I'll Sell My Skin Dearly is a good example. The original Italian title is Vendo, Cara. The English title, I'll Sell My Skin Dearly, explains the original expression more directly, but The Hangman's Tree gives the film an entirely different promotional identity. For movie researchers and collectors, knowing these alternate titles can be extremely useful. It can help them locate reviews, posters, archival records, and different releases. The Italian Cinema Archive records the film as a 1968 production directed by Ettore Fizzarotti, with Giovanni Simonelli credited for the story and screenplay. It also lists Stelvio Massi for photography and Enrico Ciocci and Marcello Maracci for the music. Titanus lists the film as a Western and describes as a movie that deserves to be rediscovered. That description is particularly appropriate today. I'll Sell My Skin Dearly is not usually placed alongside the most famous spaghetti Western classics. But that is exactly what makes it interesting for a channel like Hollywood Cine Mysteries. Cinema history is much larger than the films that became famous. Behind every major classic, there are dozens of lesser-known productions that reflect the same period, the same filmmaking trends, and the same audience interests. Some disappear almost completely. Others survive because collectors, historians, and fans continue to search for them. Vendo, Cara belongs to that second category. It gives us a glimpse into the world of 1960s Italian Western cinema. It combines revenge with moral conflict. It combines the image of the gunslinger with the possibility of redemption. It draws inspiration from a famous American Western while developing its own Italian interpretation. And it features a cast and crew that connected with the wider world of European genre cinema. So, if you are a fan of forgotten Westerns, I'll Sell My Skin Dearly is certainly a title worth knowing. Not because it is one of the most famous Westerns ever made, but because it represents an important part of the enormous wave of Italian Western filmmaking that defined the 1960s. And that brings us to the end of today's Hollywood Cine Mysteries episode. What did you think about these facts? Would you like us to make more videos about rare spaghetti westerns from the 1960s and 1970s? Or should the next video explore another forgotten Hollywood or European movie? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to Hollywood Cine Mysteries, like the video, share it with other movie fans, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next mystery from cinema history. Thank you so much for watching Hollywood Cine Mysteries. Until the next video, keep watching, keep discovering, and keep exploring the hidden side of cinema history.